Welcome to another edition of Patriots No Huddle, brought to you by PatsFans.com. Steve Balestrieri, Mike Diabate, Derek Havens here as your hosts. As always, we are here talking about the Patriots' second preseason game victory over the Minnesota Vikings. 20-12 was your final score. And there's a couple things to dive into, but what I think we need to do, Steve, is first talk about Efton Chisholm. And we'll have to get into that because he's going to be a fan favorite here in short order if he's not already. I was talking to my brother before the game, and uh, he was asking me who I should watch for, and I told him that, and then he had an incredible drive, which we're going to dive into. Okay, but first, Mike, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. It's always great to join you guys, especially on a Saturday. And when you put a win, a game day win, yeah, you just can't beat it. It's a great way to spend a Sunday evening or Sunday
Abs-
afternoon in your case, Derek.
Absolutely, Steve. How are we doing today, bud?
I'm doing great. I had some issues at the outset trying to find the game, but you know, it was fun to watch. I thought they came out with a lot of energy again. Um, it's a tough thing. You go on the road. You've been on the road for the better part of the week. Then you have to play a game on the weekend. A lot of times, guys come up flat like that. But I thought they played really well. Overall, I thought the defense, except for the end of the game, played extremely well. You know,
Yeah,
so
look, a lot of teams have shifted to doing these joint practices, and a lot of teams are doing just one practice, like the Patriots Commanders did just a week prior. And they had two joint practices, and they had a day off, jump into a game, and I think there's usually like a gentleman's agreement between coaches going into a game about what they want to practice against and things like that. I thought Kevin O'Connell and Mike Vrabel um, kind of treated this as a real game, and you saw that with some of the timeouts which sounds stupid, but it was really more about just making sure their guys were aligned in the spot they wanted them to, Mike.
Mhm.
Um, and and I thought they played a pretty competitive game.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I thought they played a very competitive game, especially when you look at the first half, which is really more where people that are looking for what this team's future might look like are going to focus their efforts. Were the Patriots in the right place at the right time? Yeah, you saw the offensive line make plays, make blocks. I thought Ben Brown was very effective in the left guard role,
Yep.
not his natural position, but I think he's stepping up and doing a great job in the absence of Wilson right now. That unfortunately, they're still waiting for him to get back on the field. We saw him warming up with Mike Vrabel before the game, but they're going to take a very cautious approach with him, and I think that's the prudent way to do it. But when you see guys like Ben and Marcus Bryant at right tackle stepping in for Morgan Moses, who again the Patriots are trying to manage Morgan's workload, and I agree with that. But
Yep.
it's so good of a feeling to see the linemen be able to go up and make plays when you need them to, make blocks, be in the key spots when you need them. I thought we saw that on the defensive side of the ball. Steve, I just finished writing about this for Sports Illustrated, hot off the presses, folks. After you listen to Patriots No Huddle, go check out my 5 instant takeaways. Anthony Jennings, I thought, put this team back on notice. You look at what this guy did. He heard the naysayers. He saw me label him as a potential player to watch in this game, and he came up big. Of course, I'm tooting my own horn here, folks. I'm not nearly
Oh,
that significant, but
you're
believe
talking to
me. But
Steve is the number one fan in the Anthony Jennings fan club. So
he is the guy. There's no question about it. And Jennings
three
stepping up, 3
sacks,
tackles for a loss, 3 sacks. Caleb Von Chieson right
three
in there
quarterback
on
hits.
coverage that really, I think, facilitated the Alex Austin interception. Every time the Patriots needed a big play, guys were in position to help out the playmaker. And that is where you look at the growth of a team. I'm looking at the Patriots right now and very encouraged by what I see moving forward. Yeah, it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But when you look at where this team was last year at this time, and you look at where they are now heading into preseason game 3, I think there's a lot of reason to feel excited about Patriots football again.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. And Steve, I'll get to you about Jennings in a second because I know how much you love him. And hey, I'll go back. It's one of my I've had a couple of great takes, and I've had one of the guys I'll bring up here shortly. Made another play today, but I've had a lot of bad takes. My wife will tell you, and and Jennings is definitely one of the guys that I wasn't sure about when when they drafted him. Didn't dislike him, just didn't love him. Steve was right there, first and forefront on the front lines of the Jennings fan club. And Steve, talk to me about what you saw from Anthony Jennings today, because he's been a little quiet. He's kind of we weren't sure about the fit for this defense, for the Mike Vrabel defense, for the Tyrell Williams defense, and he really, really splashed.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's still not really a good fit for it. But the fact of the matter is that, he's a good football player. Whether or not he's a fit for the way they want to play and has to move on doesn't take away from the fact that he's a really good edge setter. I mean, he was
Sure.
more, he's more of a fit in the Belichick style. But today, I mean, 3 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. I mean, that's some good work out there, regardless
Absolutely.
of the guys he was playing against at that phase of the game. You go out there and you play against the guys that are, opposite you, and he did his job today really, really well. And he's not going to go quiet into that good night, as Dylan Thomas said.
Well,
So I
and you
think
know
it's
that,
fine. Mhm.
and you know that, the Minnesota Vikings, team is really good. I really think Kevin O'Connell's done an incredible job as a head coach, and winning 14 games last year. They're a strong team. Okay, so this is a good test. And coming off of, again, 2 practices together, and yes, they had a day off, and they go into the second preseason game, and you could sneeze at it and say, okay, well, maybe it's just preseason or whatever. These guys are all competing for jobs.
Well,
They're all fighting for their spots, and
well, the
so
thing, yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I
no,
know
please
you
do.
do it to me all the time, so
I do all the time. Yep.
so I don't really feel too bad. But
Don't feel bad at
look,
all.
um, look here. When you're looking at things, and we all say we're not going to get too excited, but look, they had a very competitive Wednesday practice. The Vikings took it to them in the Thursday practice, but then what were we reading about? There was none of that. Well, you can't read too much into joint practice, right? It
Hmm.
was the Patriots have issues, and they
Hmm.
were glaring, and
Yeah, the sky was
Mike
falling.
Vrabel needs to be worried. I saw all this on social media, and if you can't have it both ways, right? Um, yeah, they get taken to the woodshed on Thursday a little bit, but I thought they came out today. They played really well. They played better than I thought they would. So
Well, you know what, Steve, though, when we're talking about a Vikings team that I think we would all agree that they are, again, a good solid football team. You're talking about competing, and we saw them compete. Wednesday, you heard the Patriots had a really good day. Thursday, okay, they had a good day. And then the Patriots were able to have a competitive game, which I thought we saw, and they were able to come out with a win. So you're talking about a team that is building and trying to ascend in the Patriots,
mhm.
and I think you saw that today.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought they showed really great effort today. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff to clean up from this game. I don't think any of us will disagree with that. But at the same time, The compete level was there. They had a couple of, really, really big plays offensively. They had a couple of really good plays defensively, but they had the one breakdown on the kickoff, and then at the end of the game, that last 2 minutes and change, that'll be a big teaching point this week for Vrabel, because they could have closed that game out. Instead, they have to hold on and intercept in the end zone. And again, good compete level, but that's not how you want to end the football game.
No, you don't. They were kind of holding on, kind of white knuckling the steering wheel a little bit there at the end. But you know what? Something that Mike Vrabel did really well as the Tennessee Titans head coach was closing out games and winning tight football games. And they were able to go ahead and secure it at the end. Mike, I guess I guess we should back up a bit here and start about the beginning of the game. Give me your initial thoughts on the game, because we kind of jumped forward a little bit. I know there's a lot to talk about, so give me your thoughts on that, Mike.
Well, I think I kind of tipped my hand earlier about being impressed with what I saw from the offensive line. And look, I think this line continues to grow, and I think continues to instill some confidence in Patriots Nation that they will be better than they were last year. That Drake May is in far better hands now than he was 1 year ago at this time, even though technically 1 year ago at this time, the team belonged to Jacoby Brissett, not Drake May. But that was our biggest concern as Patriots fans heading into this the season, whether or not this offensive line would be able to hold up. I do think they've helped to answer those questions. There will be growing pains and bumps along the way. There will be times where this line is beat, and beat soundly by a very stout, very aggressive defensive front. But for the most part, I think they can hold up and really kind of hold up their end of the bargain. So early on, I was impressed by what I saw from the expected starters along the offensive line, whether this unit is the unit or whether, some guys that are coming back from either workload management or injury are going to be in there. I think they'll be good with that solid core. But how can you talk about the beginning of this game without talking about Travion Henderson? Once again, showcasing both poise and prowess. That really, I think, is going to make him one of the team's most explosive weapons this season. 2 plays after he rushed for 11 yards, got forward, got the first down, which I thought was a very impressive run for a rookie to make in that spot. He goes and he breaks for an 8-yard rush that caps a 9-play, 52-yard drive. And all along the way, Travion is someone that you can tell the defense is zeroing in on, and he's still making these runs and still making these plays. No question about it, this kid's got exceptional breakaway speed, excellent acceleration. That's been on display. We know he can do that. But it's the little intangibles that he's picking up sooner rather than later that have really impressed me with this kid. He's got a wisdom beyond his years when he's running the football, and a skill set maybe beyond his years when running the football. So if that is indeed the case, the Patriots may have themselves a triple threat on their hands. We talk about double threat or dual threat. This kid could be all three: a pass catcher, a rusher, and a blocker that really could change the complexity of the way this offense is able to operate.
Absolutely. I continue to be impressed with his ability to kind of make guys miss in a phone booth, kind of navigate around things. The touchdown he had, it's a different it's a different play, but it kind of I kind of had shades of, if you guys remember the Dion Lewis touchdown against the Cowboys when he was just going off that year. Like, it wasn't quite the same thing, but it was just.
I was at that game.
Yeah, and it was just kind of Steve. It was just kind of his ability to just kind of move around guys and sneak in, and it Efton Chisholm on his touchdown, which we're going to get to him in a second, so I don't want to skip it again too much, but I was impressed with Henderson's ability to kind of move around, like his ability to kind of turn the corner, and it's like when you see him get the edge, you know he's going to get there. Like, there aren't a whole lot of guys that are going to be able to take him down.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, look, this guy, every week he's just, well, every day at practice too. I mean, he's making plays that, are like eye openers where it's like, wow,
He's
he has
dynamic.
that wow factor.
Mm-hmm.
And that run today, I mean, that was really impressive. I loved it because I'm watching that and I'm thinking, man, this guy, he can make people miss. He can power through, and he's got really good vision. All the things you look for in a really good running back. So.
Well, and the Patriots have, let's be honest, like they haven't had a lot of players in the last couple of years on offense specifically that really add a lot of explosiveness and a lot of, dynamic ability, to
None,
go ahead and
actually.
make plays. And so it's like you can tell this guy's going to be a player. And what do we always say, Steve? We talk about having opposing defensive coordinators staying up at night thinking about, things, to be worried about. He is now one of them. He is now one of those guys. I feel very strongly in saying that. So I think that's an exciting thing. Mike, anything to add on that?
No, I mean, I think that you guys have pretty much summed up everything when it comes to what Travion is bringing to this team. And you see the impact it's having on guys that are playing alongside him in his own positional group. Antonio Gibson, making plays and extending plays and making sure that he's grinding out for every yard. You saw, I think, a great effort from him today. Jermichael Hasty, I thought, played very well in the second half. I thought, him coming out and doing what he needed to do to make sure that people remember he's now on the depth chart and that he did a pretty good job for this team last year when a lot of people weren't, to me makes things interesting heading into this final preseason game, which we'll get to later in the week. I'm sure we'll, rest on our laurels for one day in the Patriots beating the Vikings. But I think that when you see the impact he's having on numerous players and ultimately the impact, the most important impact that he'll have on Drake May as the season starts to, get into full swing, is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I, for one, can't wait to watch what this kid can do in a full regular season. It's going to be a special year for the rookie in Foxborough.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Well said. Again, I want to thank everyone who's listening to this edition of Patriots No Huddle live, or who's downloading it later, or watching us on our PatsFans.com YouTube channel. Please do like, share, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Just keep us high on those, podcast rankings so other Patriots fans can find us. I apologize for kind of being in the dark a little bit. I'm recording literally sitting on my bed because my daughter is asleep in the other room, and priorities are priorities. So I'm coming across a little dark on the screen here. Steve, Efton Chisholm. He's making the team.
Effin Chisholm.
Effin with a like a little a little underline there on
Yes.
Effin. He had a game.
That drive where they started, I think, what was it, on the 7-yard line or 8-yard line? That was like all Chisholm all day long drive. I mean,
I think it was the 7-yard line, yeah.
Yeah, because he had 11, he had a 33, he had a 7, and then what was it, the 12-yard touchdown. So,
like you said, it was like 71 out of like 93 yards.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, he was, again, I think there's no doubt he's going to be on this roster now.
I just don't see how
they could keep
kind of
him
read
off.
How do you keep him off? Like, you can't cut him.
You can't.
There's too much tape on him now. So you're not going to be able to,
I mean,
scoot him through the practice squad.
Yeah, he wouldn't last 5 minutes on the waiver wire.
I agree. Mike, what do you think?
Chisholm, to me, continues to show that with perseverance, with hard work, and with a little bit of grit, you can really make significant waves in the preseason, significant waves in training camp. to build yourself up into something. And look, nobody gave this kid an inch, nobody gave him a yard. He took it all himself. And you continue to see that in each and every play. That touchdown run where he goes in there and he gets most of those yards after the catch and keeps fighting for each and every individual yard just shows the poise on this kid. It shows the field awareness, and it also, to me, shows his toughness. And I think that really is maybe his most indelible trait and something that Pats fans are really going to gravitate toward this year. Steve, Derek, I agree with you both. I think he absolutely cemented his position as a roster lock today. I don't see how you leave him off, not with the way this kid plays. He's a perfect fit in this McDaniels offense. And, you know, as a fan of John Wayne movies, I just love having a guy named Chisholm on the roster. I really think it's, to me, it's great. So, I mean, what better way can you ingratiate yourself into Pats Nation than by falling along into line with some of the great slot receivers that the Pats have had here in the past. And this kid's got a great attitude. He's the type of guy you want to root for.
Absolutely.
When he made that touchdown, I was thinking the same thing. Somebody's going to get that clip of the beginning of the John Wayne movie where they are singing Chisholm,
Chisholm, Captain Chisholm. We just lost some viewers. I apologize for that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear me sing.
Yeah.
But the kid, I mean, he came in advertised as a guy that can make people miss, and he's done nothing but prove that every day. And, the same thing, I happened to finally catch the game on the Vikings channel. So,
by the way, I'm sorry. The Vikings, the Vikings commentators are about as dry as sandpaper. They are horrendous. Okay, I'm not saying they're mean people, but
we got
watched
the McCourties up here, so we were really happy with the Patriots preseason.
Oh, I watched on the Vikings broadcast, and it was I'm drinking just gallons of water now, trying to, because it was like the Sahara with that commentary. It was so bland, but sorry, but it's a testament to the Patriots and what they bring to the table there. But the Vikings commentary I was not here for it. That's for sure. But Steve, the Chisholm play and the touchdown. I mean, even similar to the Travion Henderson one. I mean, he beat his man. We always talk about, what do we talk about with receivers? Get open, catch the ball, beat his man, and then he was able to go ahead and fight through two guys to get through the end zone, and that was just super impressive to me.
Absolutely, and early on he came in with some hype, but a lot of people really didn't think he'd make the roster because he's not the fastest guy. Remember, his 40 time was poo-pooed by a lot of people in a lot of circles. They were like, yeah, he's quick, but he's slow and he's not big. And I remember there was a guy that played for Bill Parcells, and his name was Troy Brown. And I remember the media asked him about Troy Brown when he was a rookie, and he said he's too small, he's too slow, he doesn't have a true position, but every day he makes plays where I said, well, he's going to be here another day, and he said, and he keeps making those plays. So yep. Troy is going to be here for a while. And sure enough, the Patriots have had good luck with guys like this. There was the Wes Welkers, and I remember when they got Wes, there wasn't a lot of people thought the Patriots got fleeced, and look what he turned into. Julian Edelman.
Didn't they trade like a second round pick for Wes Welker?
Second and a seventh for Wes Welker.
Yeah. Well, I know Wes is kind of hotly debated sometimes because of the drop in the Super Bowl, which we don't need to go back to and get into that whole conversation, because I still would argue with anybody that was still a bad throw, and even though he should have caught it, but it was still a bad throw. But that's a different conversation for a different day, I suppose.
His tenure with the Patriots would be looked on much differently.
Oh my God! Yeah,
That one
absolutely.
drop.
Look up anyone who is sitting here rolling their eyes and bringing up Wes Welker. Look at his stats and Julian Edelman's, and I love Jules. Okay, he's the perfect Patriot player. Look at their stats together, and then get back to me about the production. The production was there. Everyone just has one bad moment in their mind, but that's not where we're going today. Because I could go down a rabbit hole about this for another hour, and I'm not going to bore everybody with that. Okay, because
No, but
I will fight and die on the Wes Welker Hill. He was
but getting back to
terrific.
Chisholm, right? I mean, he has that ability to get open. He finds the open spots, catches the ball. He was
Yep.
targeted 6 times today, 6 catches.
Yep.
That's you can't argue with that.
No, I mean the efficiency is important, right? And look, we know what Diggs can do. We know what some of these other guys can do. We think Pop Douglas is going to have a good year. I know that Chisholm's not going to probably put up 1,000 yards. Like he's not going to do that, but he's going to have a role on this team, and you can see the fit and the comfortability he has, and the way Josh likes to use the space and the explosiveness of some of these other guys. I think that you should be excited. I'm not telling you to book your tickets to the Super Bowl, but I think that the Patriots right now are on the right track, and I think that's what the base of what we're all talking about right now is just how things are trending upwards. There are certain things to discuss. Um, and some negative things. I thought, again, Ben Brown stepped in as a good
Played well.
played well in that left guard spot, like you said.
Will Campbell.
Will Campbell, Jack Westover was in the mix, and I thought it was telling that he pretty much started the game and was right there. So, Mike, where do you want to go next?
Let's address it. Let's get it right off the plate right now. And I called it in my post game column the Kyle Duggar conundrum right now.
Oh yeah, he shouldn't buy green bananas, Steve. He shouldn't buy green bananas. I'm worried about him. All right.
You won't find many bigger fans of Kyle and what he's done here in New England since he was drafted back in 2020 than me. I've been an advocate of his over the course of the last couple of weeks. I've been called someone who's trying to carry his water. That's completely not the case. But I do see the value in a player that comes in and learns the playbook in record time, as a near picture perfect picture of where players need to be on the field at all times. You still saw elements of that today out on the field. I know he was playing into the fourth quarter, which I think has everybody worried. Even the McCourty twins were kind of giving slight credence to the fact that he's in the game, folks, this late in the game is not a great sign. But I do think there were some elements that showed he still has a little bit of the Kyle Duggar of old in him. There still could be a place for him on this team if he's properly placed. He was active out there in pretty much every play he was in. He's in on things. You can see him trying to re-ingratiate himself into this defense. He got into the box a few times. He got some penetration on a run blitz, which I thought was one of the more maybe more showcaseable moments for him in this game. He's got the tools to be able to cover a lot of ground. He can match up with his defenders in coverage. We've seen him do it. But the fact that he was still out there into the fourth quarter, making the final interception and the final play is not a good sign for someone of his stature. So do the Patriots say, you know what, we've got enough to move forward in the 3 safety packages that we want to run with Jabril Peppers and Craig Woodson and maybe a Jalen Hawkins and a Del Pettis into that mix and say, well, Kyle has run his course here? Or does his experience and savvy make him a valuable part of something they want to do moving forward? Big question marks for the Patriots this week when it comes to Kyle Duggar, and his usage in this game didn't do a whole lot to quell any of those questions. They're only going to keep continuing heading into preseason game 3.
Yeah, I totally agree. And him playing late definitely was an eyebrow raiser. I'm worried about. I wouldn't say I'm worried. We did talk about on the last show about the safety position, and we thought there were some issues and some concerns about his roster life. I guess I would say, quote unquote. But it's not a great sign. I mean, we've seen guys in the past, and it is a different regime. It's a different defense. Steve, what are your thoughts on Duggar? Because it definitely is a topic of conversation coming out of this game.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's firmly out of the starting lineup right now, and
He's on the
you can
bubble.
say yeah, you can say what you want about playing late in games, because sometimes guys have to do that. But the fact that he was on the field on the very last play of the game, granted, he did make the interception, by the way, that sealed the game.
Yep.
So that's a good sign. But I think, with his contract and the fact that, that they don't have, obviously right now, it seems, the faith in him that they used to with the former regimes, I think doesn't speak well for his longevity on this team right now. I mean, I've
Well, you
always
have
liked
to run
Duggar.
you have to, Steve, you have to run like a cost benefit analysis, and you're looking at guys like Kendrick Bourne and guys like Kyle Duggar and some of these big contracts. If they want to develop some of these younger guys like Afton Chisholm, like maybe a Jalen Hawkins or a Del Pettis or whatever it is, over these guys, you have to decide, how you want to proceed, especially when you're kind of starting. I don't want to say starting from scratch, because I know people get annoyed by that because we have been in a rebuild for a couple of years, but it is a first-time head coach, and Vrabel is running the show. But it is kind of a reset. So those things do matter. You have to you can't totally throw those things out the window. That those are factors, right, Steve?
Yeah, I mean it is, and the the simple fact that he was out there at the end of the game. I mean, um, we talked about Anthony Jennings not being a fit, but he wasn't on the field at the end of the game. So,
Nope.
It's just one of those things that he might not be long for this team.
Yeah.
And I hate to see it because I've always liked him. And I wasn't on the bandwagon when they first drafted him because I had seen that school, how tiny it was. And I was like, how can they pick a guy from this school? But, he turned into a really good football player. And, but he might not fit for this team going forward. And it's going to be a tough decision because I don't think there'll be much of a trade market for him simply because of his contract.
Right.
So that I think teams are gonna, probably wait it out, see if the Patriots release him, and then try to pick him up because he is a good veteran. He's a good player, a guy who was hurt last year, and we need to remember that part.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steve, Derek and I talked about this a couple of days ago in terms of cost benefit analysis. Derek, you mentioned right now Kyle's got the second highest salary cap hit on the team at $15.3 million. If the Patriots cut him, they're going to incur $14.25 million in dead money. They're going to save just over $1 million against the cap. So they better really value that roster spot if they're going to lose that kind of dead money by releasing Kyle Duggar. If they trade him, they're actually in line to gain $10.67 million in cap savings, and they're only going to part with $4.5 million in dead money. So clearly, they'd love to be able to trade him. Maybe that's why he was out there that late. Maybe they were trying to find a team that might be able to bite, give them a late round pick, anything that they can recoup. And the fact that he came away with a very late game interception could end up increasing that trade value a little bit. So if in fact we are seeing the final days of Kyle Duggar in a Patriots uniform, did this make him more tradable? We're going to find out the answer in short order. But I do think that there is something to be said about him still having a lot left to offer teams, but maybe this scheme fit is not the best fit for him. I've heard players, or I've heard play, I shouldn't say that. No, I've heard fans disparage his play on the field within the past couple of weeks, and it's easy to hop on a guy when he's down. I mean, it's just human nature,
Sure.
especially in sports fandom, to kick a guy when he's down. It's easy for him to be the scapegoat, but at the same time, I think he proved today that this is a guy with a lot of football left in him. He just may have to do it and play it elsewhere other than New England to really showcase what he can do. So, yeah, to me, it is quite the conundrum for the New England Patriots and Kyle Duggar within the last couple of weeks going.
I mean, Duggar has played well. Last year he had his struggles. There's no debating that. I mean, he had his issues, and I mean, so did Ramondre Stevenson. And they both got
Mm-hmm.
contracts, and they both had their own. Like I said, they both had their own issues. And like you said, Mike, it's easier to punch down, on people. I mean, it just again, it is human nature, and that's kind of how it is in sports. But I just think that him playing late in the game today just had, if your antenna doesn't go up for someone who's making that much money
Right.
playing in a second preseason game with a minute to go, then I don't know. I guess you're not paying attention. I mean, it's definitely this is not a sports radio topic. This is just a topic. So, Will Campbell, I don't know if you guys can correct me on this. I want to say he had 17 snaps. I was watching
Yep.
him pretty firmly. And I think I think that the rookie continues to showcase well. I had him for no pressures. He had no sacks allowed. I thought he had a good showcasing for his second game debut. Steve, what do you think about Will?
Yep, I was going to mention that same thing. I mean, look, he too got a lot of bad press on Thursday, right? People were talking about him and how he had a rough day. He came out today. He was only in for 17 snaps, granted, but no pressures, no sacks. That's a good day.
Yeah.
And you already mentioned Marcus Bryant. I think some of these young guys that they drafted this year are really going to pay dividends for them once the season starts.
I mean, you got Campbell, who had a really good day. Bryant showcased well today. Travion Henderson played well today. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody else, but I think they had some young guys really start to elevate, and that's what you want to see. It's not all about the end game per se. It's about building.
Right.
Like Mike, to me, my biggest thing and the reason I love the draft, and I know we've only been doing the show for a little while now, but the reason I love the draft so much is because it's like building blocks,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to stack them, and you stack drafts and you see dividends. You might not see if you have a bad draft in this year, you might not see it that same season, but you probably feel it 2 or 3 years down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now you're starting to see a couple of good drafts where you're getting, I would say, one of the top, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, one of the top 6 cornerbacks in the NFL and Christian Gonzalez. And then you have a potential franchise quarterback in Drake May, which we all believe he's going to be. And now you might have a left tackle and an explosive weapon at running back. And, you're able to draft a Christian Barmore and sign a Milton Williams, and you start building this, and it becomes the thing, where if you go ahead and draft, poorly, you might not feel it that same year, but you're gonna feel it years afterwards, and it
Right.
feels like they're moving in the same direct in the right, you know, you you're gonna move in the right direction if you make those correct selections. And with Mike Vrabel, he the way he talks and the way he executes things on the practice field and in games, it instills confidence in the fans, and you can feel the momentum and excitement with fans going into the
Mhm.
season. And I think that we've seen nothing less than that in two preseason games.
Oh, absolutely. You're seeing a commitment to everyone on this team by each and every player that puts on that uniform to do what they need to do to make sure that you're not only supporting your teammates, but you're also doing your own job. Now, there are varying degrees of success. Sometimes it hasn't worked out, sometimes it's worked out extremely well. But the intent is always there. And that comes from the top. That comes from the coaching staff setting the example each and every day, showing these guys what they need to do, how they need to do it, and giving them the tools to be able to go out there and to execute it. If your coaching staff is doing that and putting you in a position to succeed, yeah, you're going to run through a wall for those coaches. And I think you're seeing the Patriots players respond to Mike Vrabel in kind. Again, he got into, a scrum this week, on his birthday, no less. And the guy's going out there and doing what he needs to do. I mean, he's got that innate ability to connect to his players because of the way he played the game on the field. He coaches in a similar fashion with a similar type mindset. And I think that's something that players just they really not only respond to, but they respect very deeply. And I think that's helped this team get into position and do what they need to do in the preseason to make sure that week one, when they're on the field against the Las Vegas Raiders on September 7th, they're ready to go. They're in position to be able to win not just that game, but subsequent games after that. This team will be well positioned because of the job that the coaching staff is doing, putting these guys in position to win.
I absolutely agree with that. That's for sure. You know, it's again today to me was another really um, encouraging sign that they went against one of the better teams in the NFL, won 14 games last year. They were up against them, all week, and they had some good moments, some bad moments, but the competition level was there, and that's the thing that I really like. We talked about it last week: the physicality, the energy.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff was still there again today.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to be able to do that, obviously, every single week. But
Right.
the fact that they've bought into what um, Vrabel is trying to build here, and I just like what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Well, I also like, we talked about Anthony Jennings, but I thought the front seven overall had a good day. Kind of causing some chaos, getting to the ball carrier. Steve, you talk about physicality, and we've talked about how Vrabel wants the violence. I think that they're making it a point for tackling and just kind of making sure they're taking care of their responsibilities. Guys just look like they have structure, uh, which no shot at the last 2 years. It's just been they've kind of been searching for it. It's like they need it. And they have it now. Mike, is there something that you wanted to talk about that we haven't discussed yet?
Um, just want to give a quick tip of the cap to Alex Austin, who continues to prove that he is
Thank you.
worthy of a starting position on this team as a perimeter corner. If in fact Carlton Davis is unable to go, but Carlton was out there today, and he, so these signings, sometimes these under the radar retentions that teams make can be some of the most valuable roster moves that are made in a given offseason. And I think the retention of Alex Austin, keeping him in and making him a part of that initial group that kind of rallied around the loss of Christian Gonzalez has been one of the best ones. He continues to be in position to make the play each and every time. And Kayvon Chason was also right in position to be able to give him the type of assistance he needed and the support he needed to make that play. Mike Vrabel and Terrell Williams have instituted that aggressive style of defense, and you're seeing that with the linebackers in position to support the defensive backs and vice versa. That's going to be fun to watch this year. So that interception is, I think, a small piece of what you can expect to see a lot this year from the New England Patriots.
I love that you brought up both those players because those two guys were on my list as well. Chason continues to impress me. Uh, Obviously, he was a high draft pick, and it didn't necessarily work out for whatever reason. Uh, with his original team, and then you're able to go ahead and you get a guy, and he had some production last year, and now he's in a defense that really feels like to me suits him. And he so far, on a very short sample size, has maximized those opportunities. I thought he continued to showcase that today. Alex Austin is another diamond in the rough that the Patriots have found, and I agree. I mean, no doubt. I mean, I know Marcus Jones is going to be in the picture, as a slot corner or
Oh,
something
yeah.
like that. But I think Alex Austin has been ascending constantly since I would say the you know middle to three-quarters part of last season. He's just been ascending and building, and he's carried it into the off season, and I give him a lot of credit for that. So both of those guys deserve a shout out. Steve, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, Austin had a couple of flags dropped on him today. Only one was accepted, but again, he was in position, and again, it was that interception. Good play by him, but I think it spoke to the entire defensive philosophy. They got some push up the middle. Quarterback was forced out of the pocket, and he ran right into Chason, who had stayed right where he needed to be. And those are the things that you look at and you say, okay, this is where it's starting to come together.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Sorry, one second. Um, okay, Steve went to Mike to talk about Alex Austin and Kayvon Chason. I've kind of brought up a couple things. Is there anything that you wanted to bring up that we haven't talked about?
No, I think we touched on everything from this afternoon. Plus, I have to get
I know
my
you got to
butt
get going
in gear.
soon.
Yeah.
That's fine. Well, we're recording this right now, right after the game, August 16th, 5:31 p.m. Eastern time. We will do a show again this week, middle of the week, and really start getting. I mean, gentlemen, we are close to roster cuts, so there's going to be a lot of nothing to celebrate because I never want to celebrate anyone losing their job, but it's the nature of the NFL. So we'll have to get into the roster and everything else. Mike, did you have any final thoughts that you wanted to mention?
No, other than the fact that quick turnaround this week for the New England Patriots. Thursday night, they will travel to the blue side of the Meadowlands, and they will be taking on the New York Football Giants in preseason game 3. So not a whole lot of time left on the calendar for the New England Patriots to rest on their laurels. Those that are locked in difficult roster battles right now, yeah, they're going to really need this week to be able to make their case one way or another because, like you said, Derek, we're dangerously close to roster cuts and the most difficult day of the year for a head coach in any sport, especially in the NFL. Very difficult times coming up for some and very happy times coming up for others that will secure their spot on the Patriots' initial 53-man roster. If my Patriots paisan and my good buddy over in the Southwest do not have any further details to add, I'm going to give Steve an opportunity to get a move on and be able to get where he's going on time. Before we leave, I just wanted to give today's final thought to rookie Jeremiah Webb, who returned a second quarter kickoff, 59 yards. Folks, this is the third Patriots kickoff to go more than 50 yards this preseason. Of course, Travion Henderson getting a 100-yarder, and last week, Antonio Gibson getting a 62-yarder. Want to talk about special teams blocking? We'll save that for our next discussion here on Patriots No Huddle, but something to be very proud of if you're a Patriots special teams fan. And if you're Jeremiah Webb, you definitely deserve a tip of the cap. Pats fans, thank you so much for joining us here today on this post-game edition of Patriots No Huddle and for making us a part of your daily and weekly Patriots coverage. On behalf of Steve Balistrieri and Derek Havens, I'm Mike Debate, reminding all of you to stay safe, to stay well, to be the change you wish to see in the world. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you back here next time on Patriots No Huddle.